We're here in the cutest little town in the northern part of Portugal, just 10 kilometers from the Spanish border. How could a place that ticks so many boxes for foreigners looking to move to Portugal fail to attract new residents? What's wrong? Would you be brave enough to be one of the first to break rank from those that have fled to Lisbon, Algarve, and Porto? I'm Kalie.
And I'm Josh with Expats Everywhere. First, let's break down what you need to know about Chaves, whether you're going to live here or just visit.
Chaves literally means keys in Portuguese. For those of you who enjoy history, the town is a must-see. It's famous for being a defensive border stronghold. The city has strategic importance as it is close to the Spanish border.
The medieval town has been described as the keys to the kingdom, hence the name Chaves. We still see remnants of this mighty defense today, but now it's more peaceful. Of course, this affects its architecture though, so some might say it has medieval style architecture.
The Romans actually established Chaves as a spa town, and you can still see these Roman baths today. The reason these became so popular was because of the thermal springs here. Now, of course, you can look at these historic thermal baths, but the springs are just as good as they were back then, so why not explore the healing and relaxing properties of a thermal spa yourself? You can take advantage of these affordable prices and spend the day here.
Okay, so you have the Roman baths to look at and the thermal springs to relax in. What else is there?
You can cross the beautifully preserved Roman road, which is the original Roman crossing point of the river.
There's also the medieval castle, which gives you great views.
Hello, my name is Valencia, and I come from Porto. The castle is really pretty, and it's so nice. I really like it.
So those are some of the historical aspects of Chaves, but what is life like here today?
The old town is very walkable and can be done on a day trip, but you can spend longer here and get outside of the downtown area to explore.
A day trip would entail several hours walking around the downtown area and also along the river. The city is bursting with Portuguese character, so if you're considering a small European town to live in, Chaves might have what you're looking for.
It might be hard to find a rental in the downtown area. This is a more desirable location, but there's not much inventory. It's walkable, so you wouldn't need a car on a day-to-day basis, but overall, Chaves is a place you'll most likely want a car.
The feel here is more quiet and peaceful. You can still enjoy the amenities of a small town, but not have the big buzz of a city.
There's also some renovations going on, so you might be able to find a newer apartment, but of course, those will be more expensive. If you want to rent an updated apartment, budget anywhere from 500 to 900 euros, depending on what size you want.
Something a little older could be a little cheaper, but there's just not much inventory for rentals. However, if you're looking to buy in a small and charming Portuguese town, this should be a place you look into.
Of course, consider the weather, which we'll get to in a minute, but you are so close to Spain that you could drive in and out very easily.
The prices are a bit all over the place when looking to buy, as you can still find homes for under 100,000 euros here. Some need massive renovations and some have already been renovated. It mainly depends on size and location.
The properties in the city center are a bit higher in price though, and it's unlikely to find something under 100,000 euros here. 150 to 250,000 is more of a realistic budget, but if you want to get out of the downtown area, you have quite a variety.
If you're looking to take on a project, there are definitely some hidden gems here. If that's not your thing, you do have newly renovated properties. So if you fall in love with Chaves, then you do have options.
So what does the weather look like in the north here?
Summers are warm, dry, and mostly clear, with average highs in the 80s and lows in the 50s. In the winters, it will be cold and wet, with the highs averaging in the 50s and lows getting down into the 30s. It will rain in the winter, but it's not an everyday, all-day kind of rain.
Overall, cost of living will be lower here compared to a bigger city in Portugal. You can comfortably live off of 1,500 euros if you're single and 2,000 euros for a couple.
For example, a meal at an inexpensive restaurant is around 7 euros, and a meal for two at a mid-scale restaurant is around 20 euros total. There are a couple of fine dining options available too that won't break the bank. All right, we're just finishing dessert. It's been a phenomenal meal. To start with the dessert, it's got like the cream of the pastel de nata in there, with a crusted outside and cinnamon. It's different. It tastes really good. It's tasty. It's different. And then the meal just was phenomenal. I mean, the portion sizes were good for sharing, and all around felt like a high-class meal.
Most likely finding a job here will be very difficult, so you'll want to be living off of individual revenue such as remote work or something like a pension.
Josh and I love Portugal. We live here, but we also live in one of the biggest cities here. So could we live in a smaller town like Chaves?
All right, Kalie, let's talk about Chaves. I want to approach this actually from a tourist perspective first, and then we'll talk about living there and then wrap it up with if we could live there.
Okay, so for tourism, it has a lot going on. Definitely a lot about history, which we talked about. But when you're there and you see the different types of historical aspects and how it brings in a lot of tourists, adults and kid groups, like school groups, there's a lot to see there as far as tourism goes when you're thinking about the history aspect.
Yeah, I hope to not bubble and gush too much, but we talked about this as we were walking around the city, and that is, or town, and that is that Portugal has so much to offer when it comes to tourism. Like, you can go to a smaller town like Chaves and find quite a few interesting things to do here. Now, there's this idea of, is Chaves a day trip for somebody? Like, if you live in Porto, would it be a day trip? I don't think that would be doing it justice. You could hit the highlights and you could see some things, but let's say a 3-day weekend might be better.
Right, because you want to take advantage of the thermal spa, I think, and maybe you're going to be kind of a whole relaxing day doing that. So if you want to do that aspect.
Especially the prices of the thermal spa, right?
Good prices, very affordable. And then you want the aspect of the history and looking at the different architecture and such. Then, yeah, I mean, 3 days, you could do it in 2, I would say, but I agree that a day trip would not do it justice.
A day trip to me would be too packed. Okay, now maybe if you're doing the N2 route, then you'll spend a day there and then you'll head on to the next place. Or you might spend a day there if you're doing the Camino. That I could kind of understand because you're honestly doing a lot of like stopping in towns and whatnot.
That's kind of a whole different thing. Like while you are seeing Chaves, you're doing the N2 route, which to explain what that is, it's from the north part of Portugal down to the south. It's a road that runs all the way and it starts in Chaves. So a lot of people start there and then you can either motorbike, bicycle, motorcycle. You can drive it if you want, but I think a lot of people do like some sort of two-wheeled adventure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Automobile, something.
Well, some people bike it though.
Bicycle.
There were a lot of bikers there. I mean, but not my thing.
But they could also just be doing the Camino as well.
Or parts of it. You don't have to do the whole thing. But if you want to do the whole thing, it is a big deal. And we've been at the end of it as well, which ends in Faro.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been there too.
Yeah, so the northern part is Chaves, the southern part is Faro, and you'll have like a marker that shows where the actual point starts. Okay, speaking of points, that one is beside the point. So for me, tourism-wise, there actually is enough going on to where I would say put Chaves on your radar.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
Now, this leads into the livability of the place. I think that actually Chaves is made more livable because there is some tourism going on. There is this aspect that I think supports the economy, right? But it also allows there to be enough variety in terms of like food and beverage offering, meeting new and interesting people, having some kind of active life in the city, that it makes it more of a livable place.
That's actually a really good point because there are a lot of small towns you could consider all over Portugal, but sometimes maybe they're too sleepy. There's just not enough going on there. Whereas Chaves has a lot going on. So although it is a small town, and really you have the downtown area, and then it does spread out a little bit. So there's more than meets the eye, for example. But you would have a lot of like turnover and a lot of buzz going on. That is a good point. A lot of Spanish are there just because of the proximity to Spain. But in speaking with the server, we did talk about how there were expats there, but more Dutch and German, not as many American and Brits.
Yeah, heard Spanish, French, a little bit of English, although it seemed like anytime we needed to use English, which was actually quite rare, our Portuguese is getting better.
Getting there.
It was okay, you know, it was fine to use it there. So that was, I think, nice. The one interesting thing, I think, which makes it a little different than Porto, Porto I find to be sleepy on Sundays, which is funny because it's the second largest city. Now, what I'm about to say might not make a whole lot of sense, But because there is such heavy kind of tourism that happens, and it might be tourist traffic that happens on a weekend, things are open on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
It's Monday that things might be closed.
They take their day off on Monday,
right? So any of the tourist centers and such, the tourist points are open on Saturday and Sunday, but then closed on Monday. We didn't experience Chaves on a Monday, so we don't know quite how sleepy it gets. But you know, everybody needs a day of rest.
Yeah, figure out what day
like if you're living life there, you know?
Exactly. And well, the tourist points that you mentioned, they all run on the same schedule. So yeah, Mondays would be a bad day to go and visit if you want to do touristy things. But what I found really amazing is they're free. A lot of them are free. So you can go in and see like the historical Roman baths for free. You can go into the castle. So that's something that's surprising as well, because I think a lot of those things around the world, you have at least to pay for a little bit to get into it. But you can experience that stuff for free.
Yeah, okay, so the problem is we're back on tourism. We're supposed to be talking about living there.
Yeah.
Another aspect of living there that I found interesting was the food and beverage scene. I found to be quite good. Prices definitely lower than what we experience here in Porto. Went to a nicer restaurant, had a fantastic meal there. Definitely paid less than what we would have paid in Porto for like similar level.
Yeah,
I mean, I think,
upscale.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably paid €15 less.
Then for a white tablecloth type of meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually an amazing amount of variety. I mean, we saw Chinese,
how small
we saw sushi. They had a crepe
There was
place.
Indian crepes.
It was
and-
amazing. Yeah, and a lot of that was in the downtown area as well. So I think you get a lot of tourism there too. But again, there's more than just going on in the downtown area. It feels very livable on the outside as well when you spread outside of the historic area.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
So we're probably going to talk a bit about having a car and the need to have a car, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that you do have different grocery store options. You don't have to just shop at the local market. They do have a municipal market that you could shop at, but you also have your Pingados, Continents. Those are a little bit on the outside. Well, those are definitely on the outside of the historical city center. But even like if you go kind of one layer past that, where it gets to be a little more rural, residential rural, you're gonna have bigger homes, bigger lots, more space, but the ability to either walk to the shop and do a small shopping trip or drive your car there, totally doable, totally easy.
Yeah, but I do think you want a car for a couple of reasons, just because of getting outside of the main area, but then also the location of Chaves in the country. You know, it's pretty close to the Spanish border, not too far, so you could go there. But then also, if you wanted to get into a bigger city, you ideally want a car. There is public transportation, but you probably want a car.
And this is the key thing. The thing that we kind of alluded at the beginning is that Chaves has a problem, and its problem is its geographical location. There's nothing wrong, really, with the town of Chaves. People are awesome, the variety is great, has tourist attractions, there's not too many tourists, prices are good.
Yeah,
It's
it has
nice,
a lot going on.
But geographically, boy, is it kind of isolated.
Yeah, it's not by any big cities, whether in Portugal or Spain. So that is an issue.
Airports, bus routes even, not great. You can access it, but it's not great, right? You'll be better along the coast. Train's an issue. Your proximity to the Spanish border, cool. But then once you get to the border, what are you going to see?
Yeah.
You know, whereas if you're living in, for example, a Viana do Castelo, which is also very close in the north here, very close to the Spanish border, across there, you have an easy way to Vigo, to Santiago de Compostela, and then whatever the other one, A Coruña as
really
well.
all of Galicia. So yeah, there's just more going on there. That is true. So while it is a great town, it's just not by much.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're at that time.
So we got to ask the question, Kalie, would you expat that? And if you love videos like this, you probably know what that means. But I'm asking Kalie, would you want to live in Chaves for, let's say, like the medium term? So at minimum 6 months, but let's say a year, 2, 3 years, something like that.
I'm a little conflicted with this one because
course you
I
are.
did like it. It is smaller, of course, and with us living in Porto, the second largest city in Portugal, we like a big city feel, more going on. But for the size, it had a lot going on, and it actually had a really good buzz because of the different offerings of tourism that it has. So I did like that. The people were nice, but there is that issue with it's just not by much when you're ready to get out. When you're ready to get out and travel, you have to go a long distance. So I think it's not Chaves that is the issue. It's the location in Portugal that's the issue. So I could live there on a slower pace of life, maybe not in the stage of life we're at, but older, slower pace of life, maybe not traveling as much. Yes, I could live there, but for right now, where we are right now, I would say no, I would not expat that. And you?
I would not expat that.
You're always straight to the point.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I completely agree with you. I think Chaves is a lovely place. If you could transplant it elsewhere, it doesn't even have to be closer to the coast. It just needs to have more accessibility. That lack of accessibility is just holding it back.
I know.
It's just holding it back. Border tourism, I'm sorry. You know, it's just,
Well,
like, what are
no,
you gonna
border
do?
tourism, I mean, go visit.
They've done a great job.
Yeah, they have done
Yeah.
a great job. Go visit. It's definitely a place that you should spend at least a weekend at.
Yes.
But for us, we would not expat that.
Yeah. If you want to check out other cities in Portugal, we really recommend you to click on this playlist here because we have created so many city guides that you need to check out if you want to live or travel in Portugal. Now, let's get moving. Bye.